Our final presentation today is from Dana McLaughlin from the Hawaii Keiki Museum. Dana?
Aloha.
Hi.
I am quickly sharing my slide. Can you see it? Oh, wait a minute. There we go.
We're good.
All right. Aloha. So I wanted to just introduce myself first, and the Keiki Museum. It's a children's science museum. We are the sort of only children's science museum in the state that is really dedicated and totally focused on what we call island science, right? Like the local silent science that is accessible, available, and representative of our many islands. My background, just so you have a little understanding of who I am, is I'm an MIT graduate, Media Lab educated, and from the Silicon Valley. So I started the museum. I'm the founder of the museum. And the museum itself is designed to inspire wonderment, inspire kids on that are growing up here, especially I'm on the Big Island, that's the other thing, to start when they're young and to get really engaged with science, technology, engineering, arts, and math when they're this age, right? So that she's getting exposure to things that could be in her future. What we want is the kids to grow up here to tinker, to experiment, to use their hands, to think critically about the kinds of science and activities. And we're talking the whole ahua, from ocean science, turtle research up to the stars, everything, that's going on in agriculture, the birds. We want kids to be the little ambassadors of all of these stories, all of the science stories of the islands. And, we want them to be able to share these stories about why you want to wear the reef safe sunscreen to protect the coral reef, right? Like every kid growing up here should know why. They should be able to explain humpback whale migration, right? We see it all the time. We hear the whales jumping. The museum is designed to sort of inspire kids to really get engaged with that. Sustainable agriculture techniques, the story about the papaya and how the genetic modification is what saved that species. Again, these are the stories of science. The shrimp, the fact that all the shrimp we eat today was engineered, was bred and created on the Big Island, and now it's in everybody's stores, and it took over the world, right? That kind of shrimp was not in use 20 years ago. That kind of shrimp was developed and evolved here, and we should be proud of that. And again, the kids should be implicitly able to understand these things. So here we have an exhibit that's under development, and this is your challenge, is to help us develop this exhibit about energy efficiency, energy usage, energy consumption, because isn't energy an important topic for our islands? In order to help develop literacy in energy, I'm gonna see if my thing will play. There it goes. We want to create this house, right? It's a play house. It's got, the refrigerator, it's got the stove, we've got the washer and dryer in there. It's got all of the elements of the home that the kids are familiar with. So when a child goes into this, a young child, and we're talking littles, real little, preschool children, go into this house and they start turning on knobs and switches. They're playing house. They're doing this physical interaction, this tangible manipulating exhibit. And when they do that, they're turning on all of the appliances in the home. So your challenge is to now graphically display that, all those switches, all those knobs, all those inputs, all of these appliances that are so familiar in our home, in a manner that shows the caregivers, that shows the bigger kids, that shows the general public how that energy has been consumed. So this is a partnership program. We are building at the museum the structure, the house, all of these the switches. And what we're asking you to build is the data representation of it. What does it look like in my home when I start turning on all the lights and all the washer dryer and the stove is running and I've got the freezer going and everything is happening? How much energy am I consuming? So now here in this page is some examples that are kind of terrible of what people commonly think about when they're thinking about energy consumption. And if you had this on your phone or your app, you might look at it and say, I'm not connected to this. I'm not connected to this energy consumption that I am creating or that I have done or that my child has done by turning all the lights on. So this is your challenge to you, is to create a display, to create a representation that's better than what we have, what we've ever seen in terms of what kind of energy am I consuming, and make it relatable, right? Relatable to Hawaii. We don't just want bars and graphs and red and green lights. We want something that local Hawaiians are recognize, that they identify with, that they see it and they say, oh, that's familiar to me. And, you know, maybe it is a picture of a bird, right? Sitting there and he's getting bigger because he's being used, you know, he's consuming more energy and he's consuming more pellets and the food is going in. You know, something creative, something really out of the box, something radical that will help young kids, again, preschool up to adults, right? The adults are the caregivers. That's the parents, the kapuna, grandma, grandpa that are bringing the kids into the museum to see the museum. They're the ones that are also watching what's happening and learning from what you develop, how this energy is being used. And I want to just, you know, reinforce what all the other folks have said so far, which is that graphical displays are incredibly important. So what you come up with is more than just data manipulation, data analysis, putting charts and graphs out there. It's how do we relate to the data? How do we develop a relationship with what this data is telling us? And how do I take this lesson home with me as a learning, as an education, to be able to say, I'm going to go home and do something. I'm going to turn off my air conditioner a little bit and turn on my fan instead, because I know that that's going to save some energy for me and for my house. And it might save me energy and it might save me money. So that's quite a challenge. I hope some of you guys will take it up and will come join me in the Slack later. We can talk more about the display, the graphics, and its relationship to the house that gets built, the playhouse. Finally, I just wanted to leave you with this image of the kids that we're talking about. You know, these kids are going to grow up on this island and be the energy future, right? They're either going to be the consumers, the producers, the workers, the clients. So this is who you're building it for. And I just wanted you to remember that when you're thinking about what kind of display is going to relate to them. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Dana. I'll be sure to put the Hawaii Keiki Museum on my to-do list when I bring my kids to the Big Island to visit. It looks like a super cool museum.
It's really fun.
Yeah. And thank you, Dana, for bringing us the Hack's first challenge from the island of Hawaii. And we are excited to have it be part of the program this year. And mahalo to Hawaiian Electric for supplying the data for Dana's challenge. The files and links will be found on Slack.